looking for that New Year, New Me diet? It's going to turn your New Year's resolution into a New You revolution? Tired of doctors and nutritionists insisting that there's no magic bullet to making 2023, 2020 me? Well, look no further, because this year, we at the Daily Telegraph are practically giving away the answer to all of your problems. Just come down to our offices and let our staff of dedicated, desiccated corpses drain your calories right off your body in a desperate attempt to cling onto a mortal coil they long since should have shuffled off. Sing Auld Lang Syne with Dan and the gang. As you are reduced to a shadow of your former self, just in time for the new year. And as a special thanks for allowing your life force to be drained from your supple flesh, we offer a 20% discount on memory erasure, so you won't remember screaming in agony and being dragged onto our ritual altar. Book now to receive the only guaranteed solution to your weight loss goals at the Daily Telegraph. It's definitely not a chthonic cult. Get ready for New Year, New Me.
New year, new me. New year, new me. New me, new me, new me.
Happy New Year, Poppets, and welcome to another Empire Statement with me, Bridget Empire, science and culture correspondent for the Daily Telegraph. A place you've never visited, and that definitely does not have a vast expanse of subterranean caverns hidden in its basement designed to trap one of the great old ones inside. You got that? Good. Okay, so it's 2023, and we've all made our New Year's resolutions. Some of us might have resolved to sacrifice our souls to the YouTube algorithm in return for sweet, sweet Patreon dollars. That's me. But some of us might have decided to leave our partners or spend more time with our kids. But let's be honest here. We live in a world that is obsessed with, frankly, unobtainable beauty. An Instagram-fronted platonic ideal of the human body, which is, unfortunately for the common man, not achievable for most people. If you have a personal trainer on call 24 hours a day, a personal chef, a team of nutritionists, and no actual job to do except for sculpting your body for the sake of a camera, then maybe. But for a lot of people, our bodies just don't look like those of comic book superheroes. But isn't that okay? Shouldn't we be embracing all body types and celebrating our differences? Well, that's what I thought too, until I received a note from the higher-ups at the Daily Telegraph telling me that I don't believe any of that at all, and that everyone should actually lose an unhealthy amount of weight right here in our offices for the low, low price of one immortal soul. And you know me, I can't argue with a great deal. However, as a correspondent for this most foreboding of newspapers, I've taken it upon myself to tell you why the Daily Telegraph's life force-sapping blood rituals are the only surefire way to get in shape this year, short of combining diet and exercise in a way that can be a lot of hard work and that won't pay off for several months. No one wants to do that. You don't want to do that, do you? Of course you don't. So, let's disabuse you of the notion that any of the fad diets that are going to be sold this January, apart from our one which actually works, are going to do anything for you except leave you stressed out, scratching your head, and empty walleted. First off, have you guys heard of keto? If you've been on any of the usual places where people are looking to lose weight in the new year, you'll have probably heard the term keto, whether on Facebook, Reddit, or just from your friend that doesn't drink anything that's less green than a Bulbasaur after a hefty whiff of the good stuff. In fact, if you've ever thought about going on a diet at all, you've probably seen several sites recommending you go on this keto diet. It's sold as a magical solution to your problems, basically, a surefire way of hacking your body to make weight loss an achievable goal in quite a short period of time. So, does it work? Well, as with a lot of diets, it can, in the short term, but it's unlikely to lead to any change in the long term. The ketogenic diet is designed to restructure your nutritional intake, so you are, overall, eating more fats and proteins in place of carbohydrates, so more steak, less rice, more or less. This is designed to more often induce a metabolic process called ketosis, where your body burns fat for energy rather than its usual method of burning glucose from your blood sugar. So called because as the body breaks down fat, it produces ketones, which are organic compounds that look something like this. Those of you old enough to remember the halcyon days before 9/11 and the war on terror guaranteed that everything in the world get worse forever, faster and faster, might recall a similar diet that was all the rage in the decade before keto really popped off. The Atkins diet, another low-carb diet which has various phases of how many carbs you're allowed to eat per day to meet your dietary goals, meaning you won't be as consistently in the state of ketosis as you would be on the keto diet proper.
The Atkins diet became very popular and sold a huge range of books, and the diet focused on eating large amounts of protein and restricting carbohydrate to 10 grams daily. It made people think that carbohydrates were bad, but what we've got to think are, what are carbohydrates? So we get carbohydrates from a whole range of foods, not just the starchy carbohydrates such as brown pasta and rice and bread that we tend to think about. The danger of restricting any nutrient in our diet is that we then also restrict certain vitamins and minerals. We need to ensure that we have a balance of all nutrients in our diet, and that includes carbohydrates as they provide us with valuable minerals, vitamins and also energy. The Atkins diet started with a very specific phase but then goes into a maintenance phase which really does allow more range of nutrients to be reintroduced. The danger is that people keep going back to the initial stages and keep restricting carbohydrate and keeping it to a minimum, which long term could cause problems.
You might also remember that there was a fair bit of controversy around the Atkins diet when it initially exploded, due to health problems it might cause or exacerbate, and for it not really working in the long term to keep weight off. People lost a little bit of weight at the start, but it wasn't something you could stay on sustainably in the long term and see results. Remember that. That'll be a recurring theme here. Getting back to our friend ketosis, you'll want to be eating a diet of only 5 to 10% carbohydrates to maintain a keto diet, which cuts out all the stuff that nobody really likes anyway, like bread, cereal, and, just all the other things that make life worth living. You will burn more fat when you're in ketosis, but you can also induce what's called a keto flu, which is what it sounds like.
Symptoms of the keto flu can include tiredness, cramping, mood swings, brain fog, dizziness, and just general flu-like symptoms. It is not fun, and it can last days to weeks depending on the person.
Fucking around with your diet in this way can also cause low bone density, high cholesterol, and kidney stones, so you'll want to keep an eye on your health. In addition, one 10-year study conducted on keto and epilepsy management in children found the following side effects: constipation, 65%. High triglycerides, 40%. High cholesterol, 29%. Diarrhea, 19%. Lethargy, 17%. Iron deficiency, 15%. And vomiting, 13%. Still, kidney stones or no, the press around the keto diet seems pretty good, right? People report having more energy, lower appetites, and noticeable weight loss in short periods of time, and unlike just regular old cutting calories and exercise more, when you do the keto diet, you can eat a bunch of the stuff you'd usually want to cut down on. Dairy? Bacon? They're in, baby! Let's keto it up! Let the ice cream dribble down my double chin as it becomes a single chin again. It's magic, basically. Usually the body uses carbohydrates for the majority of its energy needs, but now it has fuck all of them. Surely, therefore, nothing could go wrong.
The danger of restricting any nutrient in our diet is that we then also restrict certain vitamins and minerals.
Well, a lot of the initial weight loss people see from this is from water weight. You see, ketosis can cause dehydration, and our muscles store about 3 grams of water for every gram of muscle glycogen, which is burned away during a keto diet. Also, some of the studies used to support the keto diet as a solution for weight loss have used the diet alongside an under 1,000 calorie diet, which will, make anyone lose weight regardless of whether they're burning muscle glycogen or not. And it looks like this diet is really not a long-term solution. Water weight comes back pretty quickly once you've eaten enough high-carb foods to allow your body to store water like it wants to again. And planning your day around a strict diet like this takes a lot of time and effort, frankly. And all that for seemingly pretty small gains considering the potential cost to your health. In fact, there is little evidence that keto is any more effective long-term than any other diet at keeping off weight. And if we look at the evidence for long-term sustainability of diets in general, most diets fall apart in the long term. Like most of them, even the not special ones. In addition, by adjusting your diet to be in a constant state of ketosis, you're going to be missing out on a lot of nutrients your body needs to function healthily. It's a lot better for you to eat less in total but have everything you need, rather than cutting out a bunch of the stuff you need to survive so you can eat a whole pot of double cream a day, no matter how many vitamins you take. If you want to actually keep off a couple of calories for whatever reason, a special diet is no match for, making some lifestyle changes if you can. Like cutting out on snacking, walking to work instead of driving, or counting calories. But if that sounds too much like hard work, How about a diet that's so badly named that I'm basically qualified to talk about it as a dinosaur scientist? That's right, we're covering the Paleo diet now, baby. Despite its name, the Paleo diet is not ancient, nor has it got anything to do with paleontology. But I wish that it did. Frankly, it would be much more fun to have a whole diet based around eating turkey dinosaurs and watching the original Land Before Time and over again, crying away your water weight, but I digress. I might do that in my free time, but that's not called the Paleo diet. That's just a me thing, and that's something I've got to work out on my own and with my therapist, obviously. Call me. There is no Tyrannosaurus Rex present in this diet plan. Instead, the people promoting the Paleo diet seem to think they've unlocked the ultimate diet plan by copying the diet of our ancient ancestors, which, number one, they haven't, and number two, even if they had, that wouldn't be a good thing. There's a reason humans are eating better now than ever. We shouldn't be striving to live like we're all naked and afraid and desperately trying to prove how hard we are to people who would watch the Discovery Channel at 3 in the afternoon by eating a raw snake. That's me. I watch the Discovery Channel at 3 in the afternoon. So, I guess what I'm saying is that if you've eaten a raw snake on TV, I've probably seen it. And if nothing else, you've kept me entertained for a good 20 minutes. But uncooked reptile meals probably aren't the kind of diet plan your doctor would approve of, as much as I approve of it with my eyeballs. Still, if you really must know, the Paleo diet purports to be based on the foods humans ate during the Paleolithic era. And while yes, that is a fairly large range of about 2.5 million years ago to 10,000 years ago, and our evidence for any single point in that time period for what we would have eaten during that whole time probably wouldn't be good enough to even begin to estimate the entire breadth of the human diet across the world during that time. The Paleo diet attempts to remedy this uncertainty by not including foods that became prominent during widespread adoption of farming by ancient humans. So that's a no to grains, legumes, and dairy products. Just for starters. The idea here is that humans are best adapted to deal with foods from our pre-farming days, and that our change in diet following the rise of mass agriculture did not result in an equivalent change in our body's ability to process farmed foods. Ergo, we should be eating things we would have been able to hunt and gather in the wild instead of relying on the stuff we, eat normally. Just like with the keto diet, this means that meats are in, but this time dairy is out. Fuck dairy. Nuts and seeds are your best friends now. Dairy's a bastard. You can't trust him. The problem is that besides the diet unnecessarily restricting your access to a bunch of foods that contain, the nutrients you need to have a healthy diet and therefore a healthy body, the premise it rests on is complete bollocks. For one thing, tools for grinding grains have been found at archaeological sites dating back 30,000 years, and wild grains show up in the teeth of Paleolithic humans and our Neanderthal cousins. If you look at the genes necessary for being able to digest milk and grain starches, which some people do like today, they too look to have their origins in the Paleolithic. So if grains and dairy were both being ingested by ancient humans, why are we pretending they weren't for the sake of some bad diet? Well, this goes back to the 1970s to a book called The Stone Age Diet, which advocates for a sort of reject modernity, embrace tradition, hypermasculine return with a VA aesthetic. The idea that if you eat a bunch of red meat, you'll impress your caveman ancestors so fucking much that they'll bless you with the primeval big dick energy of a legendary before time, where before men were soft and did unmanly things like drinking milk and eating cornflakes. God, I'm getting hungry. One of the central myths of this book, and of the diet crazes that followed in its footsteps, is that humans are somehow hardwired to eat meat. Like, why the fuck are we eating stupid things like broccoli and ramen noodles when we could be chewing on the jugular of a gazelle? Like we were born to do? A lot of weird guys on the internet believe this, with absolutely no evidence, besides just the sheer weight of toxic masculinity. And despite the fact that the idea that humans were supposed to be carnivores first and foremost just won't die, it's just, guys, guess what? The chuds were wrong again. This never happens. They're going to be really embarrassed when they see how stupid they look because of this. They're going to put all their steaks in the bin and go out for a good old salad, just like the Lord God intended. Humans aren't adapted to an all-meat diet. In fact, a very simple fact can shatter this whole myth into pieces. Humans, you see, can't produce their own vitamin C. Now, you might think, so what? Well, the thing is, carnivores absolutely can make their own vitamin C because they don't get enough from plants, while humans just can't make it ourselves. We have to get our vitamin C from consuming plants. What's more, We have a longer digestive system than most carnivores do because we need to digest our food for longer because we're digesting plants, and they're not. And our teeth are designed for a generalist diet. We have molars in the back of our mouth for grinding plant matter, and we have a pretty glaring lack of the teeth carnivores use to shred meat, specialized teeth called carnassials. Carnassials. One of those. It's probably one of those. No dentist correct me. No dentist allowed on my profile. No dentist on my profile, thanks. Don't look at my teeth, I'm British. Even better, the foods that are always advertised as part of the Paleolithic diet still heavily feature domesticated plants. Post-agriculture foods. A banana as we find it today is not something you would find growing a million years ago. It's been heavily modified by centuries of cultivation to a berry that's essentially all flesh and zero seed. That's, well, not natural, and certainly not authentic. If you're still insisting on LARPing as an ancient man with all the parasites and lack of antibiotics that that entails, if you eat a carrot, you've immediately ruined your commitment to an authentic Paleolithic diet, even if it's raw, because the carrot, as you see it now, did not exist back then. And yet, we can digest it. Curious. It's almost as if humans have an ability to eat all kinds of foods and aren't restricted to the 3 things dum-dums on the internet assume we were the only things we could find to eat back then. So, if your argument is that humans are designed to eat meat, and therefore we should be eating much more of it than usually recommended, that's just blatantly wrong. You might be eating more meat because you like meat, and fair play to you if you do, but that's not the natural order, or anything even close to that. Heck, even a lot of people that believe this myth even last year have started to figure this out. Do you remember the Liver King? You know, the Liver King? King of livers. This guy, the guy from the online videos who said he got super ripped and healthy using an all-meat diet? Well, it turns out he wasn't just eating liver at all, actually. And it's actually on a bunch of steroids, which I mean, yeah. Yeah, of course. Look at him. In fact, the Liver King actually took more than $10,000 worth of performance-enhancing drugs every month to maintain his physique, which wasn't exactly the lifestyle he was selling. Thankfully, this grifter is currently getting sued for $25 million for false advertising. But the fact that so many people actually believed a guy this ripped was only eating meat is kind of worrying. Eating just meat is not healthy. Just look at Jordan Peterson. He went on an all-meat diet to push his daughter's latest scam, and ended up in a coma and going so insane he thought that moving permanently to the Daily Wire was a good business decision.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Do we really want to be taking diet advice from fascist Kermit the Frog and a man who literally calls himself the Liver King? Guys, there are scientists who specialize in nutrition and public health, like actual professionals, people who study this shit for a living. You don't have to rely on a bunch of idiots on Instagram to tell you how to eat properly. The information is out there and in the public. Get enough nutrients, try to eat a healthy amount of different foodstuffs, and exercise regularly. Calories in, calories out. You can't explain that.
Tide goes in, tide goes out. Never a miscommunication. You can't explain that.
I'm a hypocrite. And you can see that, can't you? That's hard. It sucks. I hate it. I wish there was a magic bullet. As someone who's always struggled with my weight, I truly wish there was. But there's not. If you want to change your body, you have to change your lifestyle. And that usually involves changing how much you eat and exercise. But you shouldn't feel the need to do it at all. If you're feeling like you need to lose weight this year, please consider whether it's something you genuinely want for yourself, or if you've just absorbed some poisonous messages about beauty standards from social media and society at large. I know the more time I spend on Instagram, the more likely I am to go on a crash diet for a week before bouncing right back on it. We've all done it. We're all susceptible to it, and it's okay to admit that the constant barrage of images of stick-thin women and chiseled men get to you and make you anxious. But you don't need to look like them. It's okay to look like you. This is one of the most toxic aspects of these fad diets. They prey on a population constantly under attack from advertising into thinking they're not good enough. And they convince those very same people to spend the little money they have desperately trying to find a solution that'll stop them feeling inadequate, that'll stop them from feeling fat, or not muscular enough, or just plain ugly. They don't care about you. They want your money, and they want you to think only they have the answers. I promise you, even if you bought every book there was on the keto diet or the paleo diet, it would not help you one bit. It'll just make you more miserable. You're already being put down by ubiquitous and toxic body image ideals. Don't screw up your health trying to solve it in some quick fix scheme. You might not even need to change at all. Fuck their beauty standards. I know tons of hetero girls, and they love a dude with a belly. Keto won't solve your problems. It won't even begin to address them. From an article at The Guardian. The real driving force behind keto's popularity is our myopic focus on weight as a sole determinant of health, keeping us in the dieting merry-go-round as those diets become more and more extreme with each rotation. Yet dieting has been shown to increase body shame, anxiety, depression, and disordered eating patterns, particularly binge eating and bulimia. It is also ineffective, being one of the strongest predictors for future weight gain. The premium placed on weight means we often fail to consider improvements that can be made to health independent of it, such as physical fitness. Health-promoting behaviours can all have a beneficial effect, even if switching your lifestyle to incorporate them does not result in weight loss. Sadly, the focus on weight loss as the only valuable goal can lead to people pursuing weight loss at any cost and feeling that healthy behaviours are only worthwhile if they result in an aesthetic change. Dieting won't solve your problems, and I should know. Back in 2014, when I was going back and forth between begging the gender identity clinic for the sweet, sweet estrogen I need to keep my body at least 80% cat kill at any given time, and crying in my bedroom because the gender clinic wouldn't give me any of it, my gender therapist told me that I needed to lose weight. I'd always been a little overweight, never obese, but never thin either. I like cake too much for that. Still, this struck me, not just because of how blunt it was, because it came with a warning. If I didn't lose a lot of weight, and fast, I would never be able to qualify for gender-affirming surgery. So, guess what happened next? That's right, I got an eating disorder. I ate 1 meal a day for several months and lost 5 stone, which is some large amount of kilograms, I imagine. The people around me were very happy for me during this time. They congratulated me on losing so much weight and asked me again and again for my secret, and the secret is that I was very, very sick. I spent most of every day dizzy. Some days I couldn't stand up because my head would be spinning so much. I was dangerously low on blood sugar every single day, and had I not been in my early 20s, I probably would have hurt myself permanently. I can't even be sure I didn't do any long-term damage to myself, but luckily for me, I went on a holiday with friends that summer, and one of my best friends forced me to eat every meal. And I got better. A little fatter, maybe, but I wasn't constantly dizzy anymore, so I was provably healthier. And that's an important lesson to remember for this January. When everyone is pushing fad diets and begging people to get as thin as possible, skinny does not mean healthy. If you're interested, I later lost a similar amount of weight over a slower amount of time without the dizziness, without starving myself, without almost passing out every time I stood up. I did it by going to the gym and cutting down on my portion sizes. In fact, this year I'm probably going to try to repeat that. Switch my cereal to toast at breakfast, make sure I get 10,000 steps every day, and avoid snacking when I'm outside, because I had to go on antidepressants during the pandemic, and I've never been so consistently hungry in my life. Of course, all of that pandemic weight had to be put on, so that I could later sacrifice it for our yearly daily telegraphed sucker purge. Diet plan. Simply follow me into our sub-sub basement and lay down on our sacrificial altar. Yes, that's right, come on. And then comes the blood ritual. Weight loss. Immediately, for Lord Nonsbottom and the Daily Telegraph, may we publish 10,000 more issues. Ah, you're alive. Good. Oh, no, don't worry, I'm not surprised. Where would you get that impression? I knew you'd make it through the ceremony. You're looking so trim. Will you look at that? We'll have to get you back next year. Oh yes, while I show you out of the mystic newspaper labyrinth you're trapped in, let me take a moment here to thank my patrons. The only nutrition I need, num num num, feed me that sweet, sweet dollar. Thank you to Joey Cobalt, Scarjan, Charles TS, MTM Met, and Narania, supporting this channel and its associated podcast, MKG, link to that and a Patreon below. Please like and subscribe while you're here if you haven't, and tell your friends about the channel. The more people that know the foul magic that's taken place over here, the higher my chances of being freed from a life of servitude to the Demon Lord of Fleet Street, Harold Cornelius Nonsbottom. Long may he reign. Please, please help. Please, here's my wife and kids. Please.